Welcome everyone. Who hasn't heard of me before? What? Where have you all been? So, I've been seeing spirit since I was 4 years old. It's pretty much normal for me to have someone walk in and communicate with me, pretty much. And I see spirit exactly like I would see you guys. So, the only difference is where they shimmer and there's a light around them to tell me if they're a guide or if they're a loved one, and sometimes they even come in black and white, and that usually means they're in that in-between area where they're still alive, but they may have dementia or have a coma, be in a coma or something like that. So, and I can actually do readings from that area as well. So, which I did mention last night at my show last night. So, I'm going to talk about bridging the gap today and answer any questions around that area that you may have. So the main thing is making that connection to the other side. Many of us actually channel without us even knowing, and we actually are always working with spirit, and we always have spirit around us, but we don't even realise. And it's my job to actually introduce you to that and to get you to recognise certain areas of your life that you may have channeled but not even realised it. So, but what I'm going to do as well is in between my little bits of chitter-chatter, I'm going to actually do a few readings as well. So, okay. So how I work is I communicate with your loved ones on the other side, and I'll come to you and your loved one will be standing next to you. So sometimes I might ask as well, so we mix it up a little bit. I might bring through an angel or a guide as well, or I might even ask you who you would like me to bring through. Most of the time they're already there, they're already talking to me, but anyone can bring through whoever they want to bring through. And the most important thing with this kind of work is actually setting your intentions and speaking to your team, asking spirit and chatting with your team and setting your intentions. It's just like praying, pretty much, where you're actually chatting. Sometimes it feels like you're chatting to no one, but know that they always hear us. It's like manifesting and chatting to our angels and asking them for what we really need. Most people, I remember I was so funny about religion because I was seeing spirit from 4 years old. My mum was trying to medicate me, and she would also take me to church to try and save my soul. But the thing is that, and so I was a little bit funny about praying, and most people don't even pray until they're in a really bad situation, and that's the first time I actually prayed and started talking to spirit in a way of asking for assistance, if that makes sense. And that was when I was 16, and I still remember laying in bed in the hospital with the blood clot and going, "Oh, please save me. I want to survive, please." And I'll do anything. I'll even go, because at the time I wasn't talking to my mother. We had a bit of a conflict. I said, I'll even go back and give it another go with her, please. And I did stand when I did survive and miraculously come out of it with very little issues at all. I even had 3 kids after I was told I wasn't going to. I actually came to, and I did go back and make up with my mum, but I only lasted a month and I was out of there again. But I held my end of the bargain. But most of us actually communicate with spirit and ask for their assistance and ask for their help, but we don't even realise it, and it's just a form of praying. So, and just communicating and asking what we want. And that's also manifesting, and especially this year, things that we're thinking, things that we're setting intentions for, they are coming really fast. The energy is moving really fast. Who's manifested or had a conversation this year and it's come straight to you? Yeah. Or it's things have just evolved. I want you to really think about it, because a lot of the time we manifest things without even actually asking for it, maybe thinking, or it may actually be just fantasizing about something, and next thing it comes. That's why we really need to focus on our thoughts and what we're actually asking for, because they will send you the wrong thing if you don't express it correctly. Who's received the wrong thing before? Me. And then it's bit me on the bum later. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So, all right, so let's have a look. I'm going to have a look around the crowd, and I'm going to see who who wants a reading? Let's have a look at hands. All right. Okay. All right. I'm going to come to you. I'm just really drawn to you, and I kept on coming across. And I've got a group of ladies who look similar to you on the other side. Does that make sense? So I've got a mother, and I've got a grandmother, and even a great-great-grandmother. Does that make sense? And they all look the same. And and as yourself, they all look like you. And they're all there, and all the women were quite similar, if that makes sense, okay? And was Mum a bit hard? Because she was a bit harder than you in certain ways. Yeah, and it was a bit her way or no way with certain things. But she was big-hearted, this mother, and the only reason she was like that was because she was protective. Okay, and all the mothers were very protective on that side. They're talking about, do you have a husband in spirit as well? Okay, because they're talking about a husband. Okay, let me have a look. So they're talking about a husband, and this is Mum talking about her husband, and he's on the other side as well. And he's talking about, and and she's a bit of a chatterbox, Mum. She's saying, my husband's here. And I thought she was talking about your husband. And that's why it's a good idea to always ask questions, because a lot of mediums forget that you have to ask spirit questions to get the answer as well. And in a reading, a lot of the time I'll get it wrong, or I'll get it back to front. But I asked the question, like then, okay, who are you talking about? And she says, no, not her husband, my husband. Does that make sense? And they're just wanting you to see that and how I did that. And so even with this talk, I get up here, I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. I just trust Spirit. And Spirit's obviously teaching and showing how I've done this reading, and how there's been something that I didn't understand, and how to get it right. Does that make sense? So thank you, but they're around you all the time. Dad's a little bit quieter than Mum. He stood back and let her run the show and all the ladies, and he was quite happy like that, and he's still like that. Okay, thank you. Now, they don't change when they go over the other. They do change. They become pure. Their soul becomes pure, but they still come in. Their imprint still comes in. So when you're feeling how they were or what illness they had, that's an imprint of what their life was on this side. Does that make sense? Or their behaviour was on this side. A lot of people come back and they're very remorseful for their behaviour on this side. I've done readings for people that had been murdered, or sisters or brothers or children that have actually been murdered, and the murderers come through apologising for what had happened. And there was one that I did many, many years ago, and a sister had been murdered by a group of 3 men. Anyway, one of the men come through and said to me, I experienced the same thing that I put the sister through. I was in jail, I was raped, I was tortured, had all these things done to me, and then he committed suicide. And the sister who I was doing the reading for said, yeah, that's right, that just recently happened. And he come through and he said, and her daughter, the one who was on the other side, the sister, had been off the rails and really, really in a bad place. And the sister had been trying to help but couldn't do it any longer. And the sister who was on the other side and the murderer were both there saying, we're going to fix this from our side. And we're going to work together, and I'm going to work together to help this family because of what I've done. And that's how the other side works. And that's how they've shown it to me. It doesn't matter what's happened to people on this side, they come back differently. They're shown, they're judged, they're shown how they've hurt people. They're actually made to feel. Someone who might not have had any empathy on this side end up having empathy on the other side, if that makes sense. So that's a little bit refreshing, don't you think? That can change when you go over the other side. Then we're cleansed and we're kind of like newborns again, and then we come back again and we end up... People also question, how can someone be in another dimension, a new life, and then come and visit me as well, or be around me all the time? Well, our souls are very, very busy. So our souls will go from one place to another. They even break up if they need to be. So they're with all different people. So our soul is very, very busy and goes to many different places. So that's how I've been taught, and that's how I've been shown how things work. So, okay, who else would like a reading? Let's have a look. I just seem to be talking a lot, and I think that's my job today. Okay, how are you? The lady, yes, in the white scarf, how are you? Now, I actually get a man around you in spirit, and he's a real character. He's quite tall and quite thin, if that makes sense, and he's from an older generation. And he's talking about your father. So he's from your father's side of the family. And is your dad still here? Because he's talking about your dad, and he's talking about where there's a lot of health issues with dad at the moment. Does that make sense? He's talking about, so is your grandfather still here? Okay, because he just said to me, I'm the grandfather. Okay, so this is your dad's father. Yeah, and he's standing there and he's quite tall, and I don't know if he lost weight near the end, but he's showing me that his pants are loose and that they're tied up, if that makes sense. And he had problems around his tummy, and he's talking about where he'd lost weight before he'd passed. And pardon? Yeah. Yeah, and he's talking about where he had problems mostly around his tummy because of the leukemia, if that makes sense. And he's saying that he lost weight before he passed. And he's talking about also, he's talking about your dad, and he's talking about problems with his leg or hip at the moment. And he's just saying that he needs to go and get that looked at. Okay, so... Yeah. So if he comes hobbling out tomorrow, it's not my fault. Okay. But he's just talking about that. Often I'll say something and I'll talk about it, and then next thing it will happen. Okay. So, but they're also talking about a lot of changes happening with you as well. And do you have a daughter? Because they're talking about this daughter. And they're talking about a lot of changes with a relationship with her, and where it's going to be a lot more positive. Okay? And has there been clashes with her? Because they're talking about clashes, and I feel like it's not with you but someone else, with your daughter. Is she a teenager? because they're showing me her being a teenager and where there's a lot of problems with relationships, and I feel like it's to do with school and to do with it's almost her not knowing what she wants to do, but also hanging around the wrong kind of people. Does that make sense? And they're talking about there's a real change happening for her, and it's going to be really positive. And I do feel like her wanting to leave school, but I do see her actually going into an industry to do with helping people as well. She's quite big-hearted, this girl, and I do feel like some of these people that she's been hanging around kind of take all her energy, and like they're takers, if that makes sense. But they're talking about she'll find her group and the people that she wants to be more through work than actual school. Okay, and this will be really positive for her. I'm just seeing her flourishing after school rather than actually at school, where she'll learn most of her stuff. A lot of how she learns is hands-on, and she's very smart, but more common sense. Does that make sense? Like she's quite good for a daughter her age at 16. So mine was a menace at 16. Yeah, where she's like a good girl. But some of the people that she hangs around are going down a different avenue to what she would choose. And I'm just seeing her kind of moving away from that, and she will end up in a role where she helps people. Okay? Thank you. Okay. All right. Does anyone have any questions? Questions, or would like a reading, or any questions at all about the other side, about anything? So then this lady here in the white. Oh, no. When I was younger, yes. These days, I know how to switch off. When I'm switched off, I'm switched off. So some people will come up to me and have a normal, everyday conversation with me and maybe ask me a question. And if I'm not tuned in, I might give them advice and they'll go, that didn't come true. I'll go, well, I wasn't tuned in. Don't ask me anything if I'm not reading, because I give terrible advice. I do. And people make it very, very complicated about tuning in. And it's as simple as switching on and switching off. Okay? That's all it is. People say, I can't read today because I've had a disaster in my family. I can't do this today because I'm not feeling well. You know, the last 2 years I've battled 3 lots of cancer in my life, and throughout each of them I worked. And I knew that Spirit would always look after me. So I would be fine around that time. I've had people pass and then have to get on stage the next day or even hours later. And I've lost a lot of people. My whole arm's full of tattoos with names, and I'm actually missing a few. But the thing is, it's that quick. All you have to do is ask and go, right, I'm logged in now. I'm logged out. I'm done. Yeah. Well, then that comes... No, well, that comes into, I'm very strict with that. My guide's very strict with that. I don't believe in reading people without their permission. That's a no-go zone. It's like walking into someone's bedroom without their permission. I don't go there. And you cannot read people without their permission. It's just not okay. And my guide's strict. So she just even would shut me down if I even tried to do that, because it's not okay. You can pick up on energy and go, and over the years, I've dated a fair few narcissistic people, so I know I'm real good, every kind. and I feel the energy and I go, oh, dude, I'll just stay here. You know what I mean? You learn with energies, you learn to be able to tune into enough to keep you safe, if that makes sense. So who's ever kind of felt someone's energy and think, oh, God, I don't know if that's okay? Yeah, that's right. Listen to that, because energy is everything. Energy tells us everything we need to know about everything. And it is always correct. Energy, I remember being in the shopping centre and I'm standing there in the freezers section and I'm thinking, oh my God, I feel my ex. And I could feel his energy and I'm like, oh, and I'm standing there. Next thing, I feel his energy behind me and I turn around, there he was. And I'm like, oh. Anyway, I took off and I didn't think that he'd seen me, but then I'd taken off and I'm around the other side now. And then I could feel his energy again. And I'm thinking, hold on, he's over the other side of the shop. Next thing, he's there, acting like he's not seeing me, but he was. And I'm like, and took off again. So I actually kept myself safe running around this shopping centre to try and get away from him because I could feel him coming even though I couldn't see him. And that's how powerful energy is. There's been times when there's been kids. Remember, there was kids in the house where we used to live. And they were having a party later on in the day. And we come home and I said to Matt, there's 3 people downstairs. He goes, nah, there's no one here yet. I said, there are 3 people downstairs. He goes downstairs, he goes, oh shit, there is 3 people. 3 of the kids down there. So, because I could feel the energy. And energy is everything. All you have to do is trust it and learn about it and feel it. And a good way to learn about it is actually just feeling people, feeling different kinds of energy of when's a dog around? What's that energy feel like? What's this energy feel like? All different energies, and it will and you'll learn. You'll learn from that. Does anyone else have any more questions? Yes. Doesn't matter. And sometimes, most of the time I communicate mind to mind, but sometimes I'll speak out as well because I forget that it's almost like speaking in a different language when someone speaks a bit of English and then they speak a bit of their language. Does that make sense? So if I'm doing a reading, sometimes I'll ask a question and the sitter will think that I'm actually asking them. But it's spirit that and I might not even hear their answer, but I'm listening to spirit and spirit will give me the answer. So but the clearest form, people say to me all the time, do you do cards? Yeah, I do cards. My first form of tool was actually to do with runes, using the runes. It doesn't matter what tool you use. You just listen to the what spirit gives you. And it's when you're using cards, spirit will tell you what the cards mean. So, and you might pull the same cards for people all day long, but they'll tell you different things for each card, for each person. Does that make sense? Yeah. So and that's a good way, that and writing is a really good way to learn how to communicate with spirit. But the most important thing with learning how to communicate with spirit is remembering to ask questions. It's like life. How do you get answers? You ask questions. And just learning how to ask questions and get the answers. Most important thing. Yes? Yes. Yeah, that's right. Writing. So you write down, you write, and it will come through to you. Ask them a question and feel the information that they give you. They might give it to you visually, like a video, or they might just say it to you. They give it to you in all different ways. It might be smell or taste. They'll use everything, every tool that they can find to be able to get the information to you. Yep. Yep. Yeah, that's right. And yeah, that's right. And I'd get a lot of that as well with finding things. I even found I'd work a lot with missing persons. And 20 years ago, I found someone who was alive. Yeah. And he was at the pub that I said. And he'd been there for 3 weeks. He was quite feral. I said, well, I found him. Now you can deal with him. You know, but he was alive. And how I found him was his friend who passed away at that very pub 20 years earlier came through and told me where he was, because they got into a kerfuffle on the way home and he got shot in the face. And this man who was at the pub, his friend passed away around Anzac Day, which was 3 weeks prior. So he'd been there since then and been drinking, and that's how he dealt with his passing. But he hadn't told anyone where he was. Yeah. So down the back, what question do you have? Yep. The thing is, protection. We need more protection with humans than the other side. Because we are so protected on the other side, there is no bad energy on the other side. People get confused with spirits and with things that you feel bad. Sometimes the only time I've ever been scared on the other side is where I haven't understood what I'm seeing. So sometimes spirit might come and grab us, or they might scare us, or where we may feel an imprint that's really strong and really scary, but they're trying to show us what happened to them before they passed, or what kind of energy they carried. And that can be scary sometimes, but there's nothing that can hurt us on the other side. But with protection, I get up every morning. I know the minute actually all the time, I know that I'm protected. Our angels do that job for us. So there's been situations where I haven't understood, or there's been a funny energy, and my angel will come and take that away. So just know our angels are always there to ask. Yes, the two ladies there. Yes, hopefully you've got the same question. These two ladies, yep. Yeah. Oh my goodness, no. Wrong medium. When you get a medium like that, stand up and walk out. Okay. Yep. 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 Well, I see your brother, and I can tell you now he wasn't like that. Okay. And he loved your mum. He was quite a character with her. Does that make sense? And there was struggles with him, but he kept it to himself. Does that make sense? He didn't communicate it to anyone. And did he have a part of his passing? Have something to do with his passing? Because he regrets what he did. Okay? He was in a state of turmoil when this happened, and he really didn't mean to do what he did. And he wants you to know that. So this medium didn't know how to understand the information. She was correct in certain ways, but she just didn't know how to deliver it, and she got things back to front. Does that make sense? And the thing is, there's no tortured souls out there. No souls get stuck. Like, there's so much bullshit out there. Yeah, excuse me, but it deserves a swear word. Yes. They are together. They are both together, and especially when you're together, okay, because they love your relationship, and you look after each other, and yous really support each other, and they support each other with looking after you on the other side. So, yes, that the answer is yes. Yes. So you've got an energy. I actually get an angel around you. Okay, like this is an energy that's really quite strong and never leaves you. And this angel is blue, so this angel's a guide. So when I see the silhouette of blue around people, that is a guide. Okay, and this you're very lucky because you've got an angel as a guide. My guide, she has wings too. She's an angel as well. So that's probably why she's been able to put up with me for so many years. So you've got one as well. And you are a healer, but you don't use it. You haven't ventured into that yet. Does that make sense? And it's more out of fear of thinking, no, I'm going crazy. I can't do that. That doesn't work. Yeah. But just know. Just trust. Yeah, okay, because you feel the energy, you know they're there. Yeah, okay. I don't know, am I due to finish or I'll just keep going until someone kicks me off? Yes, the fellow down the back, yes. How do I... And it does come with practice, but it all comes with belief system. So if you think you've got to do a big ritual before you get information, then that's what will happen. I just believe in, okay, someone sits down in front of me and their loved ones have walked in the door with them. Sometimes their loved ones may even come and visit me just before a reading or whatever, and might be a little grandmother where I'm cooking dinner and they'll come in and go, no, you're not doing this right, all right, that's wrong. And it might be to do with in relevance to that meal, and then the next day I'll do a show and this grandmother will come through and I'll go, oh, I know where you belong. And that I'll bring up that me cooking that dinner that night. So it's just about tuning in straight away. It's all to do with belief system. Does that make sense? It's as easy as in and out. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Where? Yes.
Yeah, my son is convinced that he's got kids to two different women.
Yep.
They're not in his life.
Mm.
That's really frustrating because I don't know whether it's true or not.
Yeah. And that's in a different lifetime. Is that right?
No.
So he's got children to two different women?
Yes, that's what he's telling me.
Yeah.
He believes that.
And but he hasn't met these children or had anything to do with them. And I feel like that's what he actually does believe. Does that make sense? He honestly believes that. And I do actually get this coming from a past life trauma, okay, where he's been and where he has a real issue with trusting women. And that actually comes from that, where he actually feels like he's been done wrong by them. Does that make sense? And both these children he's seen, and they do have a resemblance to him. Does that make sense? Like he's seen, and I am getting that there is question marks around that. I feel like these children are maybe his. I'm seeing them looking similar to yourself. Yeah. So he needs to look into that maybe. Okay. All right. Thank you. If not, maybe not both, but one. There's one at least, and when you look at him, he looks like you. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Thank you. Anyone else? No. 5 minutes? Okay, cool. There you go, I'm getting the boot. Thank you. He'll do the drum when it's time. Drum roll. Yes. I'm getting that you are, and you know that you are, deep down. You are, and it's to do with fear, okay? And they're also talking about you having this kind of connection as well. Does that make sense? But it's almost like you're afraid to express what you get because it's not all flowers and butterflies. Does that make sense? And our information, people who come to us to get readings, to get healings, it's not all rainbows and butterflies. They are coming to us because they've been traumatised, because they've had loss, because they're in a bad place. They need guidance. So just know that it doesn't matter how bad the information is, sometimes it's actually to be able to push them on their way and get them out of that space. Okay, so, and the thing is, that's the difference between psychic and mediumship. It's really important that we trust mediumship more than psychic, because psychic's where we're tuning into people's energy. The only time that I use that is to do with health issues. And with mediumship will keep us safe in every way. So just trust. You've got a really strong connection there. Just trust that, okay? And don't try to analyse what's right for the person. It's like that reading with the lady whose sister got murdered. You know, that really was a heavy reading, and I thought afterwards, and I don't usually remember my readings at all, but I remembered that because it was such an impact. And it was like, whoa, like far out. I hope that was okay for that lady. And she messaged me back the following day and said, you have no idea how much closure that gave me. And thank you. So trust, because Spirit will always know the right information for that person. The only person that can walk in anyone's shoes is Spirit. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Do I have two? Yep. Okay. Yes. This lady here. How are you? Yes. Yep. Because when Spirit's communicating with us, they'll give us random information. So really random information where a lot of the time you think, oh my God, I'm not going to say that. That's crazy. You know, I remember being at a church one day, and I'm there and a lizard ran out, a frill-necked lizard. And I'm like, really? And I said, there's a frill-necked lizard. And it was while I was reading this lady, and she goes, yeah, I killed a lizard yesterday in the garden. I'm like, oh my God, she killed the lizard. You know, so the lizard come through. Yeah. So, yep, for yourself. And people find it the hardest to read for yourself. You can read for yourself. The best way to learn is to read for yourself first, and to really get in tune to trust Spirit. What they're giving you is right for you. Does that make sense? Yep. Yep. When it's information from Spirit, it's very, very clear. When it's our own thoughts, a lot of the time there's a fogginess around it. And there's also where there's question marks. And that's our own thought. When it's from Spirit, it's very clear and it's very direct. And that's when I'm on like at a show, and people are going, no, I can't take the information, but Spirit's giving it to me. And I'm like, well, no. And then the person sitting next to the person's going, yes. And the person who I'm reading's going, no. And then we get to the conclusion that Spirit was right. And that sometimes you'll hear me in shows and I'll go, that's why I trust Spirit more than I trust you guys. Yeah. So it's more clear and it's more direct. And it doesn't matter what you say, they will still give you the same answer. Does that make sense? You can't kind of change it. The only way you can change it is by delivering it the right way. Okay? Yes? Both, a mix of both. I've had them yell at me. They communicate directly, mind to mind, all different. All different, yeah. And it's always different. When I'm talking to your loved ones, it's mind to mind. Yeah, because I wouldn't be able to hear them from up here. Does that make sense? And that's the new way of communication, is mind to mind. Who can do that with a friend? Who knows when someone's ringing and the phone rings, but you know who's ringing you before you even look at it? You know, that's ESP. That's a form of mind-to-mind communication, that connection with that person that's ringing you. So, yeah, one more, and then I'm going to get booted off, I think. Yes? Who wanted to know? He wasn't on his own. I'm actually getting a father coming and getting him. Okay, so... No, he was on his own. Yeah, when he passed. Yeah, he's telling me he was on his own, but he wasn't on his own. The other side come and got him. Okay? And he actually wanted to be on his own. Does that make sense? Yeah. He was quite at peace for that. He didn't want anyone else to be there. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. I still have bookings today. I'm not sure, I don't know how many there are, but I'm at E1. So have a lovely day, enjoy the energy, and enjoy all the speakers. So thank you.